Someone is falling hard for you, not because you tried to impress them, not because you dazzled them with perfection or fireworks or flawless victories, but because you did something almost no one else dared to do. You loved them in the dark. You held out your hand when they were convinced they weren't worth holding. You saw through the walls they had built around their tired heart, and you didn't run when they confessed that sometimes they didn't know how to love themselves. You showed them a version of love that wasn't loud but steady, not dramatic but deeply real. You didn't rush them, didn't pressure them, didn't try to rewrite their story for them, you simply showed up. And that, in a world full of people who disappear at the first sign of fear or fragility, made you unforgettable. They are falling for you because you were there in the moments they believed no one would stay. When they felt unlovable, you didn't argue with their pain, you gently challenged it. You didn't insist they were wrong, you simply stayed close enough for them to see the reflection of someone who believed they were more than their scars. Someone who believed in their worth long before they could see it themselves. You didn't fix them. You didn't treat them like a project. You didn't force healing into their hands. You let them be human, messy, insecure, uncertain, and you loved them in ways that made their broken pieces feel less like evidence of failure and more like proof of survival. They are falling for you because loving you didn't make them feel judged, or small, or inadequate. Loving you made them feel safe. You spoke to their shame with gentleness, the kind that doesn't silence it but quiets it. You touched the sore places with understanding, not pity. You didn't offer solutions, you offered presence. And presence is the rarest form of love. When they wanted to push you away, you didn't cling or panic, you gave them room, but not abandonment. When they doubted themselves, you didn't drown them in reassurance. You gave them truth, spoken softly, offered as a mirror instead of a lecture. And that truth began to root itself inside them. It began to grow. It began to feel real. Your love didn't demand they be healed to be worthy. It didn't require them to pretend. It didn't ask them to be more. It welcomed them exactly as they were, and that kind of acceptance is powerful. That kind of acceptance rewires a heart. They had spent so long trying to convince themselves that love was conditional, that it had to be earned through perfection or performance or pleasing others. They never expected someone to come along who didn't tally mistakes, who didn't shrink away from their shadows, who didn't shut down when they fell silent in their sadness. You showed them what patience feels like, not passive patience, but the active kind, the kind that reassures without smothering. The kind that listens without rushing to reply. You showed them what it means to be understood without having to explain every wound. You saw the parts of them that even they had grown tired of looking at, and you didn't flinch. They are falling for you because you made them feel chosen on the days they couldn't choose themselves. Because you made them feel seen, not in their strongest moments, but in their weakest. And you didn't leave. Because you taught them, softly and without forcing it, that maybe they didn't have to earn love. Maybe they could simply receive it. You made room for their fears without feeding them. You held space for their sadness without making them feel like a burden. You didn't treat their vulnerability like something to fix, you treated it like something sacred. And little by little, they began to see what you saw, not perfectly, not suddenly, but gradually. The way dawn slowly convinces the night that morning is possible, they are falling for you because you've become the evidence their heart never had, evidence that love doesn't always hurt, that tenderness doesn't always fade, that people can choose you without conditions. You've become the proof that they can be loved in the middle of their healing, not only at the end of it. They're falling for you because you bring them peace, not confusion. Because their nervous system rests around you in a way it doesn't around others. Because somewhere between your honesty and your warmth, your softness and your strength, they found something they thought they would never experience, love that feels safe enough to trust. They're falling for you because, in your presence, their defenses don't feel necessary. Their walls don't feel protective. Their masks don't feel natural. You make honesty easy, and vulnerability less terrifying. You make them feel like they don't need to pretend they are okay to be loved. You make them feel like they don't have to hide the parts of themselves they're still learning to accept. You've become that rare kind of person who makes them believe that maybe, just maybe, they deserve a gentle kind of love. A steady kind of love. A love that doesn't disappear. A love that doesn't punish their imperfections. A love that doesn't demand they be anything other than human. They're falling for you because you didn't try to be their whole world, you simply made their world better. You didn't try to replace their strength, you supported it. You didn't try to erase their pain, you honored it. You didn't push them faster than their heart could handle, you walked beside them, and in doing so, you became a place their heart recognizes as home. Their love for you isn't the kind that explodes suddenly, it's the kind that unfolds gently. It's the kind that deepens with every quiet moment. Every soft conversation, every tiny act of care you didn't even realize mattered. It's the kind of love built from consistency, not intensity. From truth, not performance. You are the person who taught them that love can feel like breathing instead of drowning. Like grounding instead of gripping. Like becoming instead of breaking. They're falling for you because your love didn't demand they be perfect to be worthy, it simply asked them to be real. And real was something they never believed was enough, until you showed them it was. Someone is falling hard for you because you loved them when they didn't love themselves. Because you loved them with patience, with gentleness, with a sincerity they had forgotten existed. Because you offered them a kind of loyalty that didn't wait for them to fix themselves first. They're falling for you because your love feels like a safe place to grow, and that is the rarest thing in the world. They're falling for you because, with you, they finally believe they can become someone who deserves the kind of love you've already given them, and maybe they haven't told you yet. Maybe they still struggle to find the language for everything you've awakened in them. Maybe their voice shakes when they try to explain how much you mean to them. Maybe they don't know how to put into words what it feels like to finally be held by someone who doesn't make love feel like a battlefield. But their silence is not emptiness, it's awe. It's the quiet trembling of a heart learning to feel safe for the first time. They never expected someone like you to walk into their life, someone who doesn't just understand their fragility but respects it. Someone who doesn't turn their wounds into stories to be solved but honors them as chapters of a life that made them stronger. Someone who doesn't reach for them with expectations but with tenderness. Someone who doesn't treat their softness as weakness but welcomes it like a language they've always known. You became the calm they didn't realize they needed. The steady breath in the middle of their anxiety. The quiet reminder that not everyone leaves when things get heavy. The warm presence that tells them they're not too much, not too complicated, not too broken to love. They're falling for you because you made love feel like a gentle invitation instead of a test they were doomed to fail. You didn't rush them. You didn't push them past their comfort. You didn't demand explanations for the tears they couldn't always name. You simply stayed. You stayed when they hid behind their walls. You stayed when they tried to convince you deserved someone easier. You stayed even when they tried to give you all the reasons you should walk away. And there's something powerful about a love that stays. You became the first person who didn't treat their healing like a deadline. The first person who didn't make them feel guilty for still learning how to love themselves. The first person who didn't use their vulnerabilities against them. The first person who didn't mirror their fears but reflected hope instead. They're falling for you because you made them feel seen in a way that didn't scare them. It saved them. You didn't fall for the mask they show the world. You fell for the person beneath it, the one who still flinches at kindness because they aren't used to receiving it. The one who sometimes retreats into silence because they're terrified of disappointing the people they care about. The one who loves deeply but fears deeply too, and instead of pulling away from those parts, you embraced them. You never asked them to harden up. You never told them to get over it. You never made them feel weak for having feelings that ran deeper than the surface. You let them feel everything without shame. You let them exist without performing. You let them breathe without pretending, and slowly, they began to trust that you weren't going anywhere. You've become the softness they reach for on the days their own heart feels unsteady. The person whose voice brings them back to themselves. The person whose presence steadies their trembling. The person whose love feels like the quiet promise that they don't have to walk through their healing alone. They're falling for you because you gave them something they thought they didn't deserve. Patience. You taught them that healing isn't linear and that love doesn't disappear when someone has a bad day. You taught them that it's okay to have moments of doubt, moments of fear, moments of insecurity, and that those moments don't make them unworthy. You taught them that loving someone doesn't mean fixing them. It means walking beside them as they find their way. Your love made them feel strong enough to try again, soft enough to feel again, brave enough to open their heart again. Because you didn't demand perfection, you inspired growth. You didn't demand confidence, you sparked it. You didn't demand healing, you nurtured it. they're falling for you because you created a safe place for them to unfold. Little by little, they've started seeing themselves through your eyes. Not as a collection of flaws or failures, but as someone capable of beauty, resilience, tenderness. Someone deserving of the love you offer so freely. Someone worthy of being cherished, not in spite of their past, but because of everything they survived. They're falling for you because your love is a reminder that they don't have to be at war with themselves to be loved. They don't have to have everything figured out. They don't have to pretend to be stronger than they are. They don't have to hide the parts of themselves that are still healing. With you, they're allowed to be human. Fully, honestly, imperfectly human, and that freedom, that acceptance, is something they've never experienced before. Something they never thought they would find. Something they still can't believe is real. They're falling for you because you became the softness that didn't weaken them but freed them. The presence that didn't overwhelm them but anchored them. The love that didn't confuse them but clarified everything. You're not just a person they care about. You're the reason they're learning how to care about themselves. You're the reason they're beginning to believe they are worthy of gentleness, worthy of tenderness, worthy of a love that doesn't hurt. You're the reason they wake up with a little more hope. The reason they go to sleep feeling a little safer. The reason their heart feels a little lighter, even on the days that are heavy. They're falling for you not because you changed them, but because you showed them they were never unlovable to begin with, and that kind of love, your kind of love, is unforgettable. Someone is falling hard for you because somewhere along the way, you quietly became the person who made their world gentler. They didn't realize it at first, didn't see the transformation happening inside them, didn't notice how your presence softened the places they used to guard. But slowly, without noise or urgency, you became the reason they started breathing a little easier. You didn't demand their vulnerability, you earned it. You didn't demand their trust, you nurtured it. And you didn't demand their heart, you held it with a kind of care they didn't expect anyone to give. They're falling for you because you never tried to outrun their darkness or outshine their fears. You simply walked with them through the quiet nights, through the days that felt heavy, through the moments when they felt like pulling away. You didn't love them only when they were glowing, you loved them in the moments they felt small. You loved them when their voice shook. You loved them when their heart retreated. You loved them even when they didn't see anything lovable in themselves, and now, they look at you with a kind of gratitude that goes deeper than words. Because you're not just someone who cared, you're someone who stayed. You're someone who didn't take advantage of their vulnerability. You're someone who held their heart gently enough for it to reopen. You're someone who didn't turn their pain into a reason to leave, but into a reason to understand them more deeply. They're falling for you because you never made them feel like they had to be enough to deserve you. Your love wasn't based on who they could become, it was rooted in who they already were. You didn't wait for them to shine to see their worth. You saw it before they did. You held it before they believed it existed. That kind of love doesn't just touch a person, it transforms them. They are learning to love themselves because you showed them what love feels like when it's patient. They are learning to forgive themselves because you gave them forgiveness without conditions. They are learning to trust themselves because you trusted them long before they trusted their own heart. They're falling for you because you became a place where they can rest, not temporarily, not conditionally, not only on the good days, but always. You became a place where their fear doesn't make you flinch, where their tears don't push you away, where their doubts don't scare you. You became home, and when a person who has spent years searching for a safe place finally finds one, they don't take it for granted. They don't walk away. They don't forget. Their heart roots itself there, not out of dependence, but out of recognition of a kind of love they may never encounter again. They're falling for you because your love made them feel alive in ways they haven't felt in a long time. You reminded them that even wounded hearts can bloom again. Even tired souls can find hope again. Even people who have forgotten how to love themselves can learn to love again when someone as gentle as you steps into their story. Your love didn't erase their past, it helped them breathe through it. Your love didn't solve their pain, it helped them carry it. Your love didn't give them wings, it reminded them they already had them, and now, they look at you with the kind of affection that comes from a heart you helped heal, a heart that trusted you with its most fragile parts, and found that you didn't just protect it, you helped it grow. Someone is falling hard for you because you've given them a love that doesn't ask for perfection but welcomes truth. A love that doesn't fade when life becomes quiet. A love that doesn't run when things get heavy. A love that doesn't punish their sensitivity but cherishes it. A love that feels steady, sincere, and unmistakably real. They're falling for you because when they look at you, they see the person who stood by them when they didn't know how to stand on their own. They see the person who believed in them when they doubted everything. They see the person who showed them that being loved doesn't have to be painful, confusing, or conditional. They see the person who showed them the kind of love they didn't think existed, the kind they used to dream about but never expected to find, and deep down, they know they will remember you forever, because you weren't just a chapter in their healing, you were the turning point. The moment the story shifted. The part where hope returned. The part where their heart learned to trust again. They're falling for you because you loved them when they didn't love themselves, and that kind of love doesn't just touch a soul, it changes it, it becomes a before and after, and in their heart, you are the beginning of everything after.